Good day, everybody. Today we're on the Enigma server again, in the Hind. The whole point of today's video, just to give you a bit of an idea of what to do and what not to do, and just kind of use some of my faults and some of my mistakes and what you can do differently. This is also nice for some beginners to get a bit of an understanding of how different this heli is in the case of Western helicopters like the Apache, for example, and how you have to just treat the heli a little bit differently to acquisition targets, and also make sure that you keep the momentum within this helicopter, or you can find yourself into a bit of a situation. Just learning how to be as patient as possible. As you can see, my patience does have a tendency to wear quite thin. So you have a tendency to do some quite silly stuff. So we're just loading up the heli with some HG rockets and some Hydra rockets as well. And you now see us taking off on our way. First thing to do, always make sure you switch on your IFF. When you do have a friendly interrogating your heli, it will come up as a friendly, and hopefully they know that you are a friendly and they don't shoot you down. But that doesn't always happen. Another second pointer is make sure you chat on comms, especially on SRS. Get a good idea of what friendlies are around, what enemies are around, and just communicate to make sure that you don't put yourself into a position where you are either alone or in the many other cases you might have an enemy aircraft overhead. So you want to make sure that you switch on your EWS, which alerts you of what enemy are around you. As you can see, the EWS is on the top right above the map. There's probably more technology in a calculator than in most of this helicopter. So it gives you a very simplified version of what is around you and what radar is locking onto you. But you just make sure you stay low, use the terrain for cover. If you stay high, you are just open to all threats, and you can find yourself into a position getting shot out of the sky quite quickly by enemy jets or other enemy aircraft. And third pointer, get those weapons ready way before you start getting onto your target area. It takes a good 3 to 5 minutes for Petrovich to warm up your weapons. And so when you do get to the target area, you don't find yourself having to get out of the target area for another 4 to 5 minutes, which puts you into more threat and having to wait for those weapons to warm up. So as you can see, we're just sticking to the terrain, sticking low, going nice and fast, keeping up the speed, trimming out the helicopter a bit so I don't have to be holding the joystick down all the time. So we've got to the next ridge. So I'm still trying to stick low, keep on observing, keep on looking around. Those are friendlies to our left on the ground. I know that from the previous target acquisition point that I went to before I lifted off in the heli. And now we're going to start looking for targets. Start keeping up the speed, increase the altitude, because I know just over this hill we have enemy targets.
Searching.
So out in the distance I see some buildings or some objects out there, so I'm trying to get Petrovic's eye on that. And there we go, we acquired a AAA. And maybe I've been a little bit spontaneous over here, just decided to launch immediately and we're completely out of range. So what happens is you just find yourself fixating on the point, creates a bit of tunnel vision, and just waiting for that point to hit. Now we are in range and we can't shoot because we have a missile up in the air. So I'm going to go for round 2. And as you can see, I'm already starting to get impatient. Let's just quickly pause here. So what I've started to do is start switching over to rockets because Petrovich is not acquiring the target fast enough. Started really launching weapons without knowing particularly the distance, so I'm guesstimating here. So what I should have done is actually relock onto the target and use the reticle to get a good idea of what my distance is. So if you look, you got the main reticle, which is static, and then you have the other reticle, which would be moving. And if you look on the top right, that gives you a good idea of the distance you're at using that top right arc. So where it's starting on that reticle, it's giving you roughly about 2,000 meters, and then with increments of at least about, was it 200 to 300 meters is each pipper on the outer arc of the moving reticle. If we look at the fixed reticle, each one of those pippers represents about 200 meters. So 400 meters for the longer reticles, and then about 200 meters per reticle from bottom to top. So I'm basically shooting in the dust at the moment. You know, you want to be making sure that you're going at a good speed of at least about over 110 to 150 kilometers an hour, which we are doing pretty well at. But what I'm doing now is shooting at quite a far distance, where if you are flying at about 110 kilometers an hour, so the bottom reticle, if the length of the vehicle or of the object that you're shooting at is sitting at the reticle right at the bottom pipette, that should be at a distance of about 2,000 meters, so 2 kilometers. And if you look at this instance, I am definitely at about 1,500 meters just on the basis of observation. Even if you're using the middle pipper, if it fits from the left to the right side, which is about 20 mils, then you're at a range of about 350 meters. So you can see that the little dot in the middle is far beyond that. So we are at a much longer distance, and it's a good chance that those Hydra rockets will not be hitting at all. So you have the automatic mode. You can also use the manual reticle as well, and that should give you a good idea of the distance. But I've lost my patience and just decided to go ahead of it. But what I can do is go into much more deeper analysis on that as well. Most of this information I found through Chuck's guides online. If you start on page 287, it would give you a good understanding of how the system works. And if you need something to read on the toilet for a couple of hours, it is a good manual to take a look at to get a much better, good analysis of how the Hind works and how its systems work. And that's one of the things about these DCS modules. It is not War Thunder, not for the faint of hearted. If you want to learn about the system, you're going to be doing up a lot of reading and a lot of studying. But we will carry on into the next section, and if you want me to go into a much more in-depth analysis, just put it into the comment section, and I'll get that done for you. So we carry on shooting. AA starts coming on board. I want to start turning back into the mountains, try and get some covering. Also, if you're a moving object, it's going to be harder for the AA to shoot you down. And we'll start using the covering of the mountains to get away from everything. I'm also looking at EWS on the top right, giving us a good idea of the picture. We have a jet quite close by. It looks like it's a Vigan coming in for us. So I'm going to carry on using the terrain. But the Vigan is actually right off our nose. So if it's up to the north of us, it should be attacking some of our ground targets. So one of the things about DCS, especially on multiplayer servers, people have a tendency to get tunnel vision. You know, so you're not too worried about a jet coming for you, because they are usually too focused on their mission and not focusing on you. But the Biggin is getting hot on us again. So I was just taking a quick look around, making sure that it wasn't behind us or coming for us anywhere. Just keep on using the mountains for some covering of the terrain, making sure that I'm all safe and protected and I don't get shot down. But Petrovic sees the jet. It's till 2 o'clock. Start pointing our nose on it. And there you can see it's going in for a ground attack. So it doesn't seem to be focused on us. So, and you can see our AA is starting to shoot missiles at it. And boom, it's gone. Okay, so that's one less threat we need to worry about. So we can focus again on our target and get going. So here we are going in for another run. Still using terrain masking. I now have a good idea of where I am geographically and a good idea of where the target is. So that's very important. Try and get a good understanding of your terrain, where you are. So you know what good turning points are, you know where to start looking towards before you get there. So just keep up the momentum in the Hind. This is not an Apache where you want to sit static because it's a heavy aircraft. And if you do want to go slower, make sure you have a high altitude so when you do need to bug out, you're able to pick up speed by just pushing that nose down. So we're in good range. Shoot off the rocket. Petrovic locked onto it pretty quickly. You can have a tendency to get quite frustrated with him. The AA is starting to shoot at us, so we're obviously in range of the AA now. And we bug out. So before you start doing any hard turns, make sure you close the shutters on your camera, on Petrovic's camera, because you can mess up the gyros and your camera will be stuck in a position and you have to RTB and your whole mission is over and done with. So it's incredibly important to close those shutters before you make any steep turns. I don't know why the Russians or the Soviets designed the helicopter like that, but the gyros in here are not very advanced. But what do you expect from a old Soviet Union aircraft? It's just a very different mentality to compare to Western aircraft of the day. Much more confusing, much more complicated, and much more analog and manual. So now we're starting to get back onto the target again. Start getting some altitude. Switch on observation. So we can start looking for targets once we start going over this hill. See the smoke to the right. So that's where we shot last. And I know there's an AA to the right there. I want to get my eyes on that so then we're able to shoot everything down. Now, it's infuriating. You can tell Petrovic 1,000 times to look in one spot, but he has a mind of his own and he wants to look somewhere else. So out of frustration, I chug up my rockets, and like before, I'm going to be short because we are definitely not about 300 meters away from the target, and as you can see, we are pretty short. We should be ranging to at least about 600, 700, 800 meters to the target. We could have also locked onto one of the targets there as well by using Petrovic, and he would have given us a good idea of using the floating reticle for our distance. So bug back into the terrain, try and get away from the AA, keep on being a fast moving target so it's just harder for them to take a shot at us. And stay nice and low and get out of there again. So now we're going to cut to getting back on target, turn it back around, increasing altitude, and trying to get a lock onto that AA. But as you can see, Petrovic is at it again, and he wants to carry on locking onto that tank. Over and over and over. And just, I'm getting very frustrated at this point because now he wants to lock on the AA. Engage. This is one of the dangers of when you aren't able to get an acquisition on the target early. You're just going to get closer and closer. But I'm getting impatient. I just want to shoot this thing down now. Not listening to us. And now we have the other vehicles on our left. And I'm just... And I'd lost. We got down that AAA. But you can see the amount of times I had to press Petrovic just to try and get acquisition on that target. Getting highly frustrated now. So now I know I can get down a little bit lower. I can hopefully take out these vehicles from a bit of a shorter distance, because with the AAA out of there now, I don't have to worry too much. But still, they carry on shooting at me from quite a distance too. So I gotta find a nice good angle that I can obviously cover myself and then also get a good acquisition on them. So turning around, looking around, making sure that I have no air threats. That AA, oh, there's another AA, still going at me. See, it's on the right side near the smoke.
Hostile ground fire, 10 o'clock.
So we're going to try and take that out. So just try and keep your distance. Don't get too close. Also, I remember that there was a target somewhere close to our nose, so I'm not trying to go too far out, or I'm going to start being engaged by them. And just carry on turning in. Ideally, I could have gone back over the mountains and done that same path, but just getting impatient. Want to take out the targets immediately.
On, searching.
Yeah,
Searching for
Petrovic can't
targets.
find anything yet.
Looking for targets.
And
Target in sight.
we look into the tank,
Ouch.
thinking that's what was engaging us.
Good attacks. On. Searching for targets.
But there's an M60 there. Trying to find what's shooting us. And only at the last minute we saw the Bofors is the one that's engaging us. We got a little bit too close.
Target search.
And then we're bugging out. Made a big mistake, got too close. One thing you never want to do with a Hind is find yourself in a position going over the target, and they've taken out our rotor. So, learned a bit of a lesson. Don't get too close. And now I'm in the shit. So, I have to get myself out of here. Ideally, you just want to be putting this thing on the ground immediately. But for some reason, being a bit optimistic, thinking that I can somehow get this back, and before you know it, I'm dead. But otherwise, thank you very much, guys, for watching. Please like and subscribe. If there is anything you need a comment about, anything you do differently, any questions that you have, or anything else you'd like to see, please just put it into the comment section. But otherwise, have a good day and see you soon.